higher officers, messieurs les officiers supérieurs, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs. First and foremost, we'd like to say welcome to the official briefing on the current Ethiopian situation. So, according to our program, now we are proceeding for the first event. So I would like to respectfully invite Brigadier General Bulti Taddese to invite the honorable guest of honor to give his opening speech. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Dr. Kanayadata, the Defense Ministry of Minister, Ambassador Dina Mufti, spokesperson of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, spokesperson of Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Samuel Tafarra, the Minister of Peace Policy Advisor, all diplomatic attachés, Mr. Muhammad Idris, Ethiopian Media Authority Director, invited guests, all media house observed, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, good morning, bonjour, assalamu alaikum, welcome, mkandana matachu. Honorable Minister, through your good leadership, really we prepare this kind of event for our defense attaché here in Ethiopia to present the way our current security situation will be seen from different dimensions, from diplomatic perspective, from media perspective, and from internal perspective. So through your good leadership, Excellency, we prepare this event today. Honorable Minister, we are very happy to prepare this kind of event, even though our military attaché, diplomatic community requests for a long period of time to have such a kind of event because of different things, because of COVID, because of different commitments. We are unable to prepare such kind of things. I hope in future we can arrange this kind in future. Excellency Minister, allow me, before I call upon Minister to give his opening remark and open this meeting or this event officially, let me call all of you to remember a minute of silence, our honor of our military who fallen at the defense and our people who have been acted criminally in this terrorist group. A minute of silence. Please allow me, Minister.
Ambassador Dina Mufti, spokesperson to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, diplomatic communities, general officers and invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is great honor and a privilege for me to be here today to welcome you all on this important diplomatic event entitled Briefing on Ethiopian Current Situation, which intends to give awareness for military diplomatic communities accredited in Addis Ababa on Ethiopia's current situation. Once again, I would like to say welcome to all this event. I want to raise very few issues regarding to the current situation in Ethiopia, particularly related to TPLF. The first thing I want to raise related to this issue is from its inception, from its birth. TPLF, Tigray People Liberation Front, its primary objective was to dismantle Ethiopia. This objective is a grand objective that TPLF already planned from its inception, from its birth, disintegrating Ethiopia, dismantling Ethiopia, and forming the weak Ethiopian nation state. This is the grand objective that the TPLF had from its birth. So all the policies, laws, strategies, and institutional designs, particularly when TPLF was in power for the last 27 years, was geared toward this, achieving this objective. That is basically dismantling the nation. So this is a fact. All the activities, all its policies, institutional designs, strategies, and all its activities are being geared to dismantling and disintegrating the Ethiopian nation state. This is one fact about TPLF. So its policies and the strategies, particularly when TPLF was in power, well, it caused ethnic conflict in Ethiopia. Ethnic conflict in Ethiopia is a result of the TPLF policy and the strategy. Ethnic conflict, displacement, gross human rights violations, enforced disappearances, unequal resource distributions, impunity, all these human rights violations in general are the result of the policies and the strategies that the TPLF has been implementing. This is the first fact. Second, TPLF is inherently related to conflict. Conflict is inherent behavior of TPLF. TPLF consider conflict as a means of survival. That is why TPLF here and there is really creating a conflict and trying to expand this conflict even to the Amara and to the Afar region. This is the second fact. TPLF cannot exist without conflict. It considers conflict as a means of sustaining its survival. This is the second fact. Related to this, as you all know, there are massacres in different places in Ethiopia. For example, the massacre in Maikadra, massacre in the Northern Command, a massacre which is newly found in the Northern Gondar, China. Mass grave was newly found. Massacre in Galikoma, in Afar. Massacre in different parts of Wello. So this massacre and the genocide naturally emanates from the inherent characteristic behavior of TPLF. Fourth, the fact related to TPLF is TPLF is against the Ethiopian constitution, basically. All the acts that has been implemented by TPLF is against the Ethiopian constitution, and it is basically against international human rights law. For example, it is unconstitutional to build defense at national level. Most of you do not understand this fact. TDF, Tigray Defense Force, is unconstitutional, fundamentally. Because regional states are not allowed by Ethiopian constitution to build any defense force. Regional state can, of course, they can organize their police forces. But it is the exclusive power of federal state to organize defense force. So this is a simple example that the TPLF is, all the acts and the practices are against the Ethiopian constitution. So as of today, you shouldn't recognize TDF as some entity which has a constitutional ground. No. Tigray Defense Force is basically unconstitutional. Because Ethiopian constitution doesn't allow any regional state to build, to organize defense force. So it is TPLF. Or TPLF is always against the Ethiopian constitution. Therefore, all the details regarding to the current situation in Ethiopia will be presented. But these points that I've mentioned are really some of the basic facts about TPLF. So TPLF, doing all these unconstitutional things, it is through nature, it is through behavior is exposed to the international community, to Tigray people as well. Because for the last 27 years, it was hiding its true color. But very currently, its practices has exposed. TPLF is really a terrorist group. To the contrary, all these facts and the challenges coming from TPLF helped Ethiopians to be united. So this time, all the Ethiopians across the border, across the nation, are uniting. A number of youth are joining the military army. A number of rallies across Ethiopia which supports the Ethiopia unity. So for us, this situation has created even, it created conducive environment to unite Ethiopians. So sometimes this is an opportunity even to build a strong nation. But to the contrary, it has exposed the true nature of TPLF, which is a terrorist group. So I thank you all for coming and for participating here, and all the details will be presented as scheduled. Thank you for your attention. I thank you so much.
Of the law enforcement operations, there was relief supplies, huge relief supplies undertaken by the government. For example, in the first round, there were supplies for 4.5 beneficiaries, only in the first round. Then for 4.9 people or beneficiaries in the second round. These were supplies in the form of food and non-food items, medicine as well. Still, the government continues supplying food, medicine, fertilizer, and seeds to the people of the region. It's not only that. To allow unfettered access, the government reduced the number of checkpoints in the east bureaucratic procedures on the border so that trucks can easily move into the region. They can move in with the supplies, with the relief supplies. This has been an issue by the international community. As you know, some of our government, our colleagues, our partners were asking us, they were asking for unfettered access. That fettered access is already permitted. There is no fettered, there is unfettered access now. As you know very well, the country, this country hosts a lot of refugees from both our regions and far. We actually give hospitalities to refugees from over 26 countries. So this humanitarian treatment, humanitarian access, unfettered access, and all issues that were out there and presented to us by the international community were very well addressed. With regard to human rights violations also, in case there is a human rights violations during the law enforcement operations, the investigation has been allowed by the government. In fact, there is an involvement of the independent authorities, bodies like the United Nations Human Rights Commissions and the African Human and People's Rights Commissions. And the issue of human rights violations and the investigations of human rights violations had been very well addressed on the part of the Ethiopian government. With regard to the dialogue, which the international community has been raising frequently, there is a post-election political scenario of the national dialogue. Even currently now there are about 54 political parties in the country, of which 4 are from the Tigray region. The government has kept conversing with the elderly, the women's group, and civil societies of the region. So there is a possibilities of the dialogue as well. The dialogue is also in our interest, and partially that dialogue is being conducted. With regard to the all-inclusive dialogue, hopefully we are in the process of forming a new government. Very soon, perhaps within less than a month's time, there will be a new government in Ethiopia, the government that has been elected, and that government will come out with a roadmap which will lead to the dialogue because this will be in the interest of Ethiopia, in the interest of peace, in the interest of the security of the region as well. Well, as you know, another issue that has been confronting us over the last couple of months is Ethiopia-Sudan boundary dispute. As you know, both Ethiopia and Sudan share a long border. We share a lot of people. We have a lot of commonalities. As you know, Ethiopia is a parenting country. There are Ethiopian nationals who are also concurrently, who have similar cultures and traits and behaviors with other nationals of the neighboring countries. As you know very well, this country is a parenting country. There is a possibility of, integrating these neighboring countries on the basis of the linkage that can come through people-to-people's link. So with regard to the Sudanese issue which I have raised, Ethiopia has contributed to the Sudanese peace process, and the the Sudanese political crisis has been overcome by the efforts of Ethiopia together with the African Union. With regard to the issue related to the border, we have a delimited border in 1902. We have formed committees, various committees to deal with the border issues. That border issues has its own mechanism of dealing with it, and then there is no need of going to other situations. But unfortunately, the Sudanese government has violated our territorial integrity. They have invaded Ethiopia, and this is very unfortunate. Still, the government has tolerated, and we have exhibited a long tolerance. And we still would like to impress our colleagues on our partners, including your countries, to urge the Sudanese government to desist from these wrong actions. With regard to Ethiopian Grand Renaissance Dam, we have been discussing, from the very beginning when we started this dam, we don't have an intention of hurting low-riparian countries. As you know, more than 86% of this water emanates from Ethiopia. Ethiopia has not used it so far. Even now, we want to use it only for hydro purposes. Otherwise, the water hits the turbine and flows down to Sudan and Egypt. Even they would rather benefit from it, there are a lot of benefits that can come through from the dam. It reduces flood. As you know, unfortunately, Sudan is very much flooded nowadays. And if this dam has been completed, that flood would have been reduced. This is what we are telling our Sudanese colleagues. They will have also cheap and environmentally sound electricity once we finish this dam. Though what we want in general is actually the Nile to be the source of cooperation, not the source of confrontation. So there is a trilateral talks that we have started. It is being led by the African Union, and we still want that process to be under the auspices of the African Union, and the African Union has continued with it. So Sudanese and Egyptians are making various attempts to politicize and internationalize the Grand Renaissance Dam. Now, what we are saying is simply this. We can succeed through the African peace process. We can negotiate. We can overcome our difficulties with the current formula. And this is what exactly we are saying. Finally, what I want to remind you is that Ethiopia is a member of the international community. It's a founding member of the League of Nations preceding the United Nations, as you know very well. Ethiopia was also the founding member of the African Union, OAU, which was preceding the African Union. It used to be also an active member of the defunct non-aligned movement. It has participated in peace-building processes in Korea, Congo, Liberia, Rwanda, Burundi. It has a very long track record of peacekeeping. It has supported an African movement for liberation. You remember the history of our support for Zimbabwean liberation movements, South Africa, South Sudan, etc. We have been pursuing strong friendly relationship with the rest of the world, with America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Latin America, and others. We value our role in the international community. We want to strengthen our relationship. We want to be understood. It's also a very resilient nation with absorbing capacity. Despite COVID, flooding, and all other difficulties, this country is strong. It will continue. You, as our partners, please be with us, help us, let us understand each other, let's talk, let us proceed in the interest of our benefits. Thank you very much.
I would like to appreciate all attendants to be here. I wanted to highlight more of, especially the cause of the conflict is already stated and previous. As you know, for the last 3 decades, this TPLF junta did a lot of abusing things here in Ethiopia. Especially the main intent of this group is to be weakened the Ethiopian, to be the weakest state of the Ethiopian, and the following politicizing the whole country, not only the civilian, including the military, all security apparatus to be part and parcel of politics, politicizing the system, not to be honest to your people, to your constitution, to your government, rather than politicizing the system. This will bring this extremist group to violate a lot of human rights, human beings, which can turn out how this extremist group removed from the power through the protest and the question of the people. Having this, there is a law enforcement made because of that can be did in Northern Command, for example, and a lot of atrocities made here in Ethiopia. And this cause of law enforcement in operation conducted there is especially to establish the law enforcement and to bring these criminals in front of the justice. That is the main why our military force did during this period of time. Not only that, this TPLF or this terrorist group organizing himself in such way that in an unconstitutional way, especially the way he organized the troop, the way he organized and violate different human rights, planning to encroach not only here inside Ethiopia, even our neighbor countries, which is Ethiopia to be a part and a parcel of a violence forever. That is his intent. The goal of the operation, the main goal of operation is to disarm this junta group and to bring in front of the justice. Restoring peace in the constitutional order and to bring these violence people, mastermind people in front of the justice, that can be done so far through this operation. Again, not only that, restore in the legitimate authority even in that region, because all infrastructures, all administrative matters were already disturbed. Then the people are now not facing even good information, good infrastructure, good public administration, and the question was raised now. So far, the achievement through the operation is our force, full control of the territory and bringing the current situation to be at a stable situation. Most of this rebel group now defeated and they are robbed different equipments, materials, including even what our security force have been there before. This is most of the seniors, these TPLF people are now surrendered. Some of them were killed, and some were now looking in the jungle here in the desert to fight against our soldiers. Not only this, our government declared a unilateral ceasefire and to restore the operation. However, this TPLF or junta group is denied not to be a part and a parcel of this unilateral peace process. Rather than expanding different operational authorities even beyond the Tigrayan region here in Afar, in the Amara, and having done a lot of atrocity in people, including Makadra and the other people. Even there are a mass grave is found here in the desert and around the Amara and the different areas. During even this peace process in unilateral, this TPLF rejects the ceasefire decision rather than invading different kind of the people in the killing innocent civilians from the both region, even interfering in other areas by recruiting, planning, and giving a lot of equipment, illegal crimes here and there in all of the region. After the operation is done, all of the Ethiopian country, the peace is now restored. That's why the operation is achieving a good goal. Regarding to the public support for the military operation, all the people in all corners of the Ethiopia are called upon themselves and saying that this TPLF or junta group did a lot of atrocity here in Desert. That's why the young people, all the communities contributing his own money, even use voluntary, join the military, the security apparatus. Now there is a good stand to fight this terrorist group in all corners of the Ethiopia. The current military operation, by taking this advantage of ceasefire, this group is not only operating in a few areas, but his intention is to expand his operation in all, and destabilizing the Ethiopian territory. But this is unavailable for him. That's why, at this period of time, the junta people and the group are now degraded all over the corner of the place where they are operating. Another very important maybe I wanted to share is the government, even though declared this unilateral unilateral ceasefire is the using this opportunity still now calling upon international community to be negotiate with him. Not only that, some of the international communities, maybe by mistake or by design, call upon to negotiate with terrorist group. Be in mind, whatever and whatsoever, any sovereign state, terrorists cannot be negotiated. Leave alone this country, even superpower cannot be called upon to negotiate with terrorist group. Still, his intention is that one. But our Ethiopian government, our people, can never do like that, because terrorist group cannot be negotiated. Once a terrorist group is declared as terrorist, no one can tell us on behalf of someone, this terrorist group is not a terrorist, but you can sit down, negotiate with him. But it never. That is what I wanted to highlight. In terms of peacekeeping, His Excellency Ambassador already put out, Ethiopia is participating in peacekeeping in so far long period of time. You know very well. Still, we are doing very well in all over where our troops were deployed. Our troop did his job in a very disciplined manner, based on rule of conduct of a UN principle, as well as according to the law of the land of the country where he can operate it. So, even where our troops deployed, the people themselves, either it can be Sudan, South Sudan, Abyei, or Somalia, the people themselves recognize the discipline of our Ethiopians, respecting human rights, respecting and working with a civilian, contributing his money for orphans, for poor people, as we did it in North Command and attack these people in our soldiers. Another very important maybe I wanted to highlight is, even though we have such a kind of challenge, Ethiopia is now capable to overcome this problem. We are ready to do whatever this terrorist group to attack our soldiers. Because some superpower, maybe another, may look at it, this country become a poor, then they are looking for negotiating with terrorist group, but still we are in all over, in capacity, in the capability to fight against this terrorist group, in all matters. That's why we are doing day and night to bring peace, restore for our people. In conclusion, Ethiopia is one of the hub of Africa, a nation with long 100 of millions. It is the origin of humankind. So anyone cannot destroy the origin of this humankind. Because this country is the hub of Africa, organizing different international communities, even UN, as His Excellency Ambassador said. So no one can deny this country to be destabilized. Ethiopia is a symbol of a freedom of all Africans. And most African countries are now supporting our countries, how this terrorist group is fighting us. Some international communities emphasizing the current internal crisis, the way this terrorist group attack our people, atrocities, massacre, they recognize that. Some international communities following social medias and giving a false information, the government, what they did on the ground, the truth is denied, rather than sounding this terrorist group to be true. But the fact on the ground is not that. The act of terrorist group has no boundary, everywhere. So, what I wanted to recommend maybe to our DS international community is we should have to understand the means and the way this terrorist group is attacking us. Not only the people of Ethiopia, the government, maybe by future, maybe our neighbor countries, far away even. So we have to have a sound together. We should have to be stand together. We should have to be condemned. This terrorist group should have to be destroyed forever. So that's why we call upon to request accredit our military attachés here in capital of Africa to stand this difficult time. That is the threat of the region as well as the Ethiopia, to be a part and a parcel of this struggle. No one can stand alone. The transitional or transboundary crimes cannot be for X country or Y country. As you know, it can be did in all over these terrorist groups. So we should have to be fight all together with all capability and the capacity what we have. Finally, maybe this suffer will made us, but in future there is a great pride. Thank you very much, Excellency.
And salam to you all. So my part is to discuss about the role of social media. So we're talking about the flow of information, basically. So mainstream or mainstream media or social media, we're discussing the information flow in the current situation that relates with the conflict in Tigray or the law enforcement operation in Tigray and Amhara and Afar regions. So, of course, information is power, and it's a good thing. It empowers people if used responsibly. So what I will be discussing is the area which people are engaged with the information flow without taking into account the damages that it is causing. So that's the area that I'll be focusing on. So in a country like ours, where digital literacy, let alone digital literacy, but literacy in general is at a low level, it's very difficult to manage information flow in this digital era. So for the last 3 years, Ethiopia has been engaged in democratization, in opening up, and to enable voices of dissent be heard. So the reform has taken a tremendous effect in the media landscape in general, not just in social media. Freedom of expression, freedom of press, these areas has been part of the reform. Laws were amended, and people are given the right to have the freedom of expression to the extent that the government, will violate the law sometimes. So in that context, the current phenomenon did not just happen out of the blue. I would like to discuss a little bit about how we used to look like in the past. Because the problem with the information flow that we have today, which we basically put a label on them like disinformation, misinformation, malinformation, fake news, call it whatever it is. It's a false information that is affecting the people on the ground, not just the citizens, the civilians, but even the law enforcement or the security personnel as well. So the current phenomenon related to the disinformation, malinformation, etc., adds fuel to the fire, which already, which lacks digital literacy in the people, which lacks digital literacy. So narrowing the scope, the last 3 years, we've seen a tremendous amount of information surfaced out there. As you are well aware, Ethiopia is, though a very ancient country, we have different ethnic groups, communities living in different areas. And the last 3 decades has seen very discomforting political situations that aggravate division among us people, which is directly related to the TPLF. And opening up the space, given the opportunity for different political actors with very divisive political agendas to use the opportunity to instigate more violence and conflicts between different ethnic groups and communities in Ethiopia. So it has been difficult to manage that information flow, as we're very committed to freedom of expression. Having said that, as I mentioned, TPLF is at the center of all this ethnic conflicts, and in fact, the structure itself the political structure itself is very open for ethnic divisions. So after leaving power, or after forced to leave power, TPLF used the social media, basically, and to some extent the mainstream medias, namely digital, Dimtsu Wayani, and the other one is the state television, which is Tigray TV, to further deepen the division between the central or the rest of Ethiopia and Tigray, which is using those medias and the social medias, feeding false information for not just only for people of Tigray, but as well for the rest of Ethiopia, further deepening the division. This has been done through different techniques. For example, distorting a speech made by political figures, starting from the Prime Minister, distorting speech, presenting it out of context. When somebody talk about TPLF, they kind of represented it as he is or she is talking about the people of Tigray in a negative way. So taking some information out of context and crafting it and disinforming the people so that they will have a negative attitude towards the central government and they won't be cooperating with whatever the government is supposed to do with the people. And another way is doctored videos, doctored audios that give a false information to the people. A person might say something in different times, but those speeches are put together, doctored, and then put out to the public in social medias, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and then the people will be fed those false informations. I mean, it would be an insult to tell you that people make their decision based on the information available to them. So if they're fed false information, they will decide the wrong decision, and the consequences are grave. So the doctored, distorted, taken out of context, and then you have artificially fabricated informations. There could be incidents that never happened, but they'll be put on the medias, on the social medias, as if it took place in a certain area. And this will be supported with pictures, by the way. Pictures taken from different parts of the world. You can reverse search it, and then you can find it and expose them. But still, the damage is huge. As I mentioned at the beginning, the digital literacy is very low. And so fabricated stories, fabricated incidents. And the purpose of all this is about 2 or 3. One is to put the public under pressure in believing that the central government is no more protecting them. Ethnic conflicts are everywhere, and the government cannot protect them. So they propagate those incidents, fake fabricated incidents on social media. And the other one is to put suspicion among us different ethnic groups, so that they'll go out acting based on those information they have. Like, for example, there are several information put out there claiming that Oromos, one ethnic group, is attacked by the Amharas, and on the other side they will just act as an Amhara, further instigating violence and conflict. So these are the areas they were engaged in, but that's not all. November attack on the Northern Command did not happen just on November 4. We believe, or the data shows, before November, for the last 2.5 years, they have been actively, in fact, they have a group called Digital Wayane, operating from Mekelle, opening different accounts on social media, Twitter and Facebook, and they open these accounts in the name of Oromos and Hamaras, and they continuously put out information on these platforms, claiming that these ethnic groups, saying it in the name of Oromo against Amhara, and saying something in the name of Amhara against Oromo, and it goes on with different ethnic groups as well. And before November as well, they were actively putting out information, false informations, presenting some sort of perspective that the rest of Ethiopia is against the Tigrayans. And all this led to their preemptive strike on the Northern Command of the Ethiopian National Defense Force. And later, after that attack, we have seen that the TPA, as the information was put by the Prime Minister's Office and the Ethiopian Telecommunication Service, after the TPLF destroyed or disrupted the telecom infrastructure, internet penetration was very low, or was not in existence in Tigray. And during that time, those data were proven that most of the disinformations coming from one was Mekelle University, another one is the city itself. It was in silence. During those 3 or 4 weeks of November, we haven't heard or we haven't seen on social media or mainstream media any false information claiming, or aiming at putting violence among us different communities or ethnic groups. It was silent. But later on, when they have access, and when the diaspora wing of this digital Wayani started to operate, we've seen another form of the disinformation in a way portraying the Ethiopian National Defense Force violating human rights. And this has surfaced in mainstream media as well, in international foreign medias. That was very alarming because many mainstream medias, foreign mainstream medias, use social media as a source, and those information cannot be authenticated, and that made the law enforcement operation very difficult because of the relationship that Ethiopia has with different countries. So to this day, we see and we observe many mainstream media and a very coordinated social media campaign against the Ethiopian law enforcement operation in Tigray, Amhara, and Afar regions, portraying the defense force and the other security forces as some sort of evil committing atrocities, which cannot be proved or authenticated. So the disinformation campaign in general, just to wrap it up, because this is just a highlight and a brief highlight. If we go in detail, we can mention several examples. So just to wrap it up, I want to focus on the impact it made. As I mentioned, ethnic conflicts amongst communities, but it also made it difficult for the law enforcement operation to execute its mission, to bring down those outlawed TPLF cliques to justice because of the disinformation campaign that has been going on online and on the mainstream media. So the impact affects the law enforcement and then the citizens living in Tigray and elsewhere. And it has a huge consequence in the stability, peace and security of the country. But it will not be limited to the country. It will go on to the Horn of Africa and beyond for different interest groups that has some stake in the Horn and the region. So in our observation, in our daily monitoring, and from different stakeholders, the data that we collected and analyzed shows that it's not just a spontaneous reaction to what's happening in Ethiopia. We believe that there is a very coordinated online campaign to distort information, to convince the Ethiopians and the international community that the Ethiopian government is acting in an orderly fashion to make sure law and order is maintained. So that's what the data showed. It's not just the spontaneous activities online and on mainstream media. There is a coordinated effort to discredit, to undermine the ability, capacity of the Ethiopian government and law enforcement security personnel and the National Defense Force to delegitimize this institutions. So that's our observation, and if there are questions, we'll get back to them, but thank you.
My idea may be somewhat supplementary. First of all, I appreciate the presenters for the very good and informative presentation. What is the truth on the ground? When we see this TPLF activity in different ways, I can see this one as a military tasks, and all those generals were friends with us, and we were working together. But now they became an enemy for the national army. This is because of the activities or the aim of the TPLF. I just want to mention very few points that our national army contribute for the region in the Tigray, including these TPLF personnel that they came from. This national army military served people for more than 20 years in Tigray region. It was because of the war appraised in Ethiopia. Due to this reason, during the war, these troops engaged with the war at the theater. When no peace, no wartime, also all those troops cultivated all the work with the workers in the Tigray, harvesting their job that the people should do. They supported there and build small-scale level hospitals and schools at primary level. And protecting all those people from the attack which was coming from different directions, from different armed groups supported by the Eritrea. The troops, the national army, were sacrificed a lot for the people, and including these elite people who are fighting with us currently. With this situation, finally what they did, all our friends, generals, attacked us at the barrack when our troops slept in that region. The same troops attacked those troops serving those Tigrayan people. Those attacked troops treating those people who are living in low level life according to the life.
We are very happy. Today we are the same enemy. Ethiopian government and the Somali, we are the same enemy. You remember 2007, they attacked in my country of Somalia, especially the capital of Mogadishu, and they bombarded civilians. Because at that time, Somalia had no national army. Because people of Somalia, they are suffering a lot of terrorism, famine, displacement. So, we are very happy and we are very welcome the operation in northern Ethiopia by the Ethiopian government. And also we hope that the Ethiopian National Army to conclude this war very soon. I thank you.
Thanking the Honorable Minister and his entire team for putting together this briefing. It has indeed been a morning well spent, as we are now better informed on the current situation in Ethiopia. We often hear that this is the information age. May I also note that it is also the misinformation age. People come up with various conjectures, rumors, and falsehood to suit their cause. This makes such meetings and interactions most necessary. I believe the ongoing situation in Ethiopia is largely military in nature. So in this light, the defense attachés and the MAA remains a veritable tool, well positioned to explain government positions and actions to first our ambassadors and even to our capitals. So while appreciating this gesture this morning, I would like to behave like the proverbial Oliver Twist by asking for more. We would like to have more of such briefings to clear the air from time to time. I would also like our colleagues to know that our prayers are with you and the great people of Ethiopia, that this challenge would come to an end soonest.
Ethiopians are uniting just to resist the conspiracy and all the activities of TPLF, just to oppose that. So Ethiopians are they are united. A number of youths are joining military, different rallies across the nation, just in support of Ethiopia unity, and to the contrary, to oppose the TPLF terrorist group. Therefore, this situation has created both difficulties and opportunities for Ethiopia. Now we began just informing the international communities and all the even citizens at home. So different teams has been established, just planning to inform international community about the true behavior of TPLF. You know, in this process, the true nature of TPLF has been exposed. That TPLF is really anti-Ethiopian force, and it is really, of course, it tries to even continue disintegrating Ethiopia. So the reason why they are now doing the level best is even they plan to come to the power. But Ethiopian citizens have already decided that this is completely impossible. Therefore, we as an Ethiopian, and also we have established a different committee just to inform the international community about the true nature of TPLF.
From their beginning, initially, this group is a kind of terrorist and radicalism, and encroaching not only Ethiopia and our neighbor countries. The way they are doing that to dismantle and to destabilize the region as a whole, as you know. But Ethiopia people have a good reaction on this. And Ethiopian, our government are working very continuously, once and for all, to degrade this terrorism. Not only degrade, at least to distract this terrorist group for all. By the way, this ambition it is an ambition. Ethiopia cannot be disintegrated, whatever you like, because Ethiopia is its nature. They are interconnected family, interconnected culture, interconnected mental, psychological connection in Ethiopian history. Ethiopia cannot be dismantled in a very easy way as they wish from other countries. So this is maybe the hope they are looking for, but Ethiopia will not be dismantled for future. Even though they are violating human rights, constitutional order, massacres, people, so far we will see. We can back up all things in a place, restoring peace, legitimizing administrative issues, working together with our friends like this military attaché and the other stakeholders. They understand the way this terrorist group are now working with different digital media, false information, allegation, and they wanted to sit together with, negotiate with the terrorist group. It can be never. So that's why we are working together. People are now responding very urgently, very continuously by contributing his money, his use, and by his own power to help and to support our military soldiers on the ground. So this is an ambition, it can be never done. Most of our friendly countries give a good response, as you heard now. All of our military attaché have a good impression to destroy this terrorist group. This terrorist group could work not only here, it interfere here in Sudan, interfere in Somalia, interfere in our neighbor countries, all by encroaching and working together in a violent area. So all of our military attachés have a good impression to work with Ethiopia, to degrade and to degrade this terrorist group. They stood with us. That's why they are having a good sound working together with us.